Hello everybody, this is Algebra 2. We're getting ready to start 9.1. Here's the email. Get a hold of me if you want these or worksheets, tests. 9.1 for Algebra 2. For Chapter 9, this is the first lesson for Chapter 9, Trigonometric Ratios and Functions. We have 32 points here of classwork, and then 6 points of notes. So get ready for that, class. Here's our bell work, teachers. Let your kids do this as they walk in. And then we have 2 bell work problems here. Homeschoolers, this is a good warm-up for this lesson. Your lucky day again. Here's a solution PowerPoint slide for this one here. Hypotenuse length C, find the unknown side. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem here, and we plug in to find our C squared here. And then the same thing down here. We have A and C. Up here we had A and B. So we plug in here, and we solve for B. Okay, 9.1. Use trigonometry with right triangles. You use Pythagorean theorem to find lengths. You will use trigonometric functions to find lengths, so you can measure distances indirectly. Example 5. Here's a notebook page. Page 2 goes in your notebook. Consider a right triangle that has an acute angle theta, Greek letter theta here. The 3 sides of the triangle are the hypotenuse, the side opposite theta, and the side adjacent to theta. Here's your hypotenuse here. Here's theta. Then here's the adjacent side, and then your opposite side here. Opposite over here, adjacent, and then this is the hypotenuse here. Class worksheet, page 2. Consider with that right triangle that has an acute angle theta, the Greek letter theta. The 3 sides of the triangle are the hypotenuse, the side opposite theta, and the side adjacent to theta. Ratios of a right triangle's side lengths are used to define the 6 trigonometric functions here. Here's a good vocab opportunity here. Sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. These 6 functions are abbreviated sine, cosine, tan, cosecant, secant, and cotan, respectively here. So that's what these abbreviations for. Again, sine, cosine, tan, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. This is on your class worksheet, page 2. A concept slide here, right triangle definitions of trigonometric functions. Let theta be an acute angle of a right triangle. The 6 trigonometric functions of theta are defined as follows. Sine theta is opposite over the hypotenuse, so sine theta, which should be coming from here, would be your opposite over your hypotenuse. The length of this over your hypotenuse length would give you your sine function. And then cosine theta would be your adjacent side over your hypotenuse. That would yield your cosine function. And then tan theta would be opposite over adjacent, op over adjacent. And then for cosecant would be your hypotenuse over the opposite. So you would change here. You would flip your sine function. The inverse of your sine would be cosecant. And then secant would be your hypotenuse over your adjacent. And then your cotan would be your adjacent over the opposite. So these are the inverses of your tan, sine, and cosine. Your secant is the inverse of your cosine function. The abbreviations op, adjacent, and hyp are often used to represent the side lengths of the right triangle. Note that the ratios in the second row are reciprocals of the ratio in the first row. This goes in your notebook. This is a great notebook slide. Here to take down these functions in your notebook. You'll be using these this whole chapter. Another notebook slide here. And here again are the using the abbreviations here. For cosecant is 1 over sine theta. This is another way of recognizing your cosecant function is it's the inverse of the sine function. And then secant is the inverse of the cosine function. And then cotangent is the inverse of the tangent function. Okay, we actually get into an example here. Example 1, evaluate trigonometric functions. Evaluate 6 trigonometric functions of the angle theta. Here's theta here. Here's our hypotenuse. This side is 12 and 5. So from the Pythagorean theorem, the length of the hypotenuse, we're going to find the length of the hypotenuse is 13. So sine theta would equal op over hyp, which equals 12. Sine theta here would be opposite over our hyp is 13, so it would be 12 over 13. And then our cosecant theta, cosecant would be hyp over our op, so it would be 13 over 12, which is the inverse of our sine function here, cosecant. And then our cosine would be adjacent, which would be 5 over our hyp. Adjacent over hyp, that would be the cosine of theta, would be 5 over 13. And then our secant theta would be our hyp over our adjacent. So it would be 13 over 5 would be our secant theta. And then our tan theta would be our op over adjacent, so it would be 12 over 5, 12 over 5 would be our tan theta. And then our cotan theta would be adjacent over the opposite, so it would be 5 over 12 here. Guided practice here. Evaluate the 6 trigonometric functions of angle theta, which is right here. Here's theta. And then students, this is yours. Evaluate the trigonometric functions of angle theta here. So for the guided practice, here's our triangle here. And we need to find the 6 functions here for angle theta. Here is sine. Sine theta would be opposite over our hyp, would be 3 over 5. Cosecant would be our hyp over our opposite, which would be 5 over 3. And then our cosine theta would be adjacent over hyp, would be 4 over 5. And then secant theta would be our hyp over adjacent, 5 over 4. And then our tan theta would be opposite over adjacent, 3 over 4. And then cotan would be the reciprocal of this. It would be adjacent over opposite, 4 over 3. So there was the first guided practice. Going to another example here, example 2. If theta is an acute angle of a right triangle and sine theta equals 4 over 7, what is tan theta? So we're given part of the picture here of a right triangle. We know sine theta is 4 over 7. Draw a right triangle with acute angles theta such that the leg opposite theta has length 4 and the hypotenuse. Here is a sketch of our triangle right here. This would be theta here. We know sine theta would be 4 over 7. And so by using the Pythag, we can find out what the length of the other leg is here. It has length 7 by the Pythagorean theorem. We find that the length of this side here would be the radical 7 squared minus 4 squared, which would be 33, square root of 33. So now find the value of tan theta. So we need to find the value of tan theta. What's the function for tan theta again? Tan theta is opposite over adjacent, so it will be 4 over the radical 33. And to rationalize our denominator, we'll multiply both numerator and denominator by radical 33, and this is our final answer here. Correct answer would be B on that standardized practice. This is slide 8 on your classwork, page 8. You go into another guided practice here. Evaluate the 6 trig functions of angle theta here. In a right triangle, this is your students, is number 4, independent practice. The guided practice, evaluate the 6 trig functions of theta. So sine would be, you have to rationalize, remember to rationalize your denominators here, class. These cancel, so you have 1 over radical 2, and then rationalize your denominator by multiplying numerator and denominator by radical 2. Cosine theta, same thing here, we've got to rationalize our denominator. Tan theta, and then cosecant theta. These cancel here. And then their secant would be, again, a very familiar number here for this triangle. And then there's our cotan theta. So that was the classwork. We move into our homework. We got 88 points here of homework. We had 6 points of notes in the classwork. We have a vocab and writing exercise here on page 1 of your homework. And then page 2 of the homework, we have evaluate the functions here, 6 trig functions here for these triangles. If you need more room, attach a sheet to finish your work here. There should be enough room here for you. And then same thing here, evaluate 6 trig functions, page 3 on your homework. Same thing here on these triangles. Find your 6 trig functions for these 2 triangles. Let theta be an acute angle of a right triangle. Find the values of the other 5 trig functions of theta. So you might want to do a sketch here of these. That would be one way of doing it. Page 5 of your homework. If you need more room, attach a sheet. And then page 6, same thing here. Sketch a triangle with this function here to find the other 5 trig functions for that. And then page 7 of your homework would be in a right triangle theta, multiple choice, and then you have an error analysis. So there's your homework. If you want more of chapter 9 and more of the trig in chapter 9, email me for PowerPoints or videos, and I'll get right back to you. Thank you very much.